Welcome to Jump Podcast. I'm your host, Traveling Jackie, and I'm here to explore travel, adventure, and lifestyle in ways meant to motivate you to move and experience the world outside your comfort zone and to do big, courageous things with your one life. Let this show be a source of advice and inspiration, and remember that in the end, it's you who takes the leap. All right, we are on sort of a hot streak lately of power women joining us on the show. And I'm so here for this. I have the great honor of welcoming the one and only Samantha Brown to the show today. And you might recognize her name from the Travel Channel, as that's where she got started on her long, successful Emmy-winning career of hosting travel TV shows. And I'm looking forward to learning more about how it all happened and who is Samantha Brown behind the camera. So a very warm welcome to you, Samantha. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Jackie, I'm thrilled. You know, we met about a month ago, and we hit it off. We had a connection immediately. So I love that we're doing a follow-up.
Yeah, me too. No, I really appreciate that. And actually the Vegas thing was so cool how that ended up working out just organically. And suddenly here we are on stage and just having our conversation and asking each other questions even. That was when I knew, oh man, I'd actually had you on the radar for years to ask you to be on the show, but this was like, okay, it's time.
Yeah.
Like now's the time. So here we are. And no, I really appreciate you taking the time to grace us with your presence and share your story with us today. Lots of stories because I know you have them. I actually want to set the stage a little bit here because I think it's really important to remember that behind every TV personality, there's a real human with a real story who started somewhere with real goals and dreams. So I'd love to go back to that version of you. Maybe you can tell us where you came from and what initially inspired you to pursue a career on stage, even though it might not have been the stage you were thinking originally.
Yeah, I started out, so I grew up in New Hampshire. And we moved to the seacoast of New Hampshire, which a lot of people don't realize New Hampshire has a seacoast. We have 11 miles of it, and we're very proud before Maine takes it all. And then I went to college for musical theater. I was so interested in theater. I'd been involved in theater since I was in middle school. I loved it. And luckily, my parents actually paid for an education in musical theater. And I went to Syracuse University. And basically, the trajectory is you go to college and I was a triple threat. I could sing, act, and dance, and then moved to New York City to become a professional actor. But that's when I realized I wasn't threatening at all. I think there are very, very talented people still to this day here in New York City. And so basically, did the typical, I guess, movie of it where you wait on tables. And I waited on tables for close to a decade and just pounded the pavements, got my headshot out there. I went on auditions, had to get up at 4:00 in the morning to wait in line for the Actors Equity building to open up in Times Square, New York, so I could sign up for an audition and go back home and shower, come back, and then go to my waitressing job. And so that was a slog. It was a slog for a really long time. And but one audition I submitted myself for was for commercials, and I got the commercials. And the producer of the commercials then recommended me to a production company who was hired to create a new show for the Travel Channel called Great Vacation Homes. And I was auditioned for that, and I got the job. And the rest just is as they say now, well-documented history because it's always been TV show after TV show. But I was 20. Well, how old? Oh my gosh, I don't even know, Jackie. It's like it's so funny how you forget your age. I was 29 when I got my first job.
When you started, when you landed that role with the Travel Channel.
Yeah.
Before that, though, I have first a question, and then I would like you to tell a story because I know that there's a story in here. But what was it that kept you going when you were waiting tables? Why? I mean, you said it was 8 years. That's a long time to be kind of in the face of the pursuit of a goal without maybe in your own terms, under your own idea, having landed that successful spot yet. So how did you keep going? What was it that kept you going in there?
I have a lot of patience, and I've never been the star of anything. Even in middle school, high school, college, there were always the stars. and they shone bright. And I'm even the middle child in my family. I'm just so even keeled. But I don't like stand out. But not standing out, like you gain this sense of grit. I think that you don't have when you are always the picked. And so I always tell people that just because you are not the shining star, that's actually going to give you an edge that those who usually do always get picked or just kind of shine brighter than everybody else for some reason, because they burn out. Because as soon as those any sort of adversity happens or struggle happens, they don't understand. But I've never been wildly successful. I think that has really played into my success, essentially.
Sure.
So I was just kind of believing and loving what I did, and just knowing I would have to stay the course, that eventually something would happen, and it did.
Yeah, no, I love that, because persistence and resilience, like these are the things that get us, and the continued dedication and the eye on the prize, according to us. Like it matters what we believe that our goal is, what success looks like in the end, But I love that you just kind of stayed that course and did whatever it took to get there. And I think that a lot of people can probably resonate with what you just said about, not being the star, because there are few, really. And so, in fact, I just had, I'm going to bring into this an idea that I just spoke about on the last episode with Rachel, whom Rachel Romes. Yeah. And it was just the idea. Yeah, me too. She's incredible.
She really is.
Yeah. But it's the idea that, if that big thing, the thing that we dream for ourselves, why not make that available to ourselves? If we're willing to stay the course and wait the tables until we get there, then who's to say that that isn't for us to actually achieve in the end? So
yeah, I agree. I think there's so much, there is so much hype out there that the people who made it just knew they were going to make it right from the beginning. They were they were stars. They knew everything. And what you realize is it's so far from the truth that sometimes you're not even really that good at what you do. It's just that you love it and you keep at it. And I think that's the biggest crock of crap that I think women especially are given, that you have to be really good to do what you do. No, you get good, you get better. But if you love what you do, you'll stick with it, definitely.
Right. The passion. I think we're definitely going to come back to that throughout this conversation. But I was just looking at your website and just reading, in advance of this call, and I came across a story on your About page that I did not know. This was the first time that I'd seen this story. And even though we had just had a conversation in Vegas about like how you started, and I love how you just threw in, well, I got this audition and I got the job. But there was, you almost missed this audition twice. Yeah. And I really want to hear you actually share this story, because even reading it, it was so expressive, and I'm imagining this happening. And so please tell us how you almost missed this. How Samantha Brown almost wasn't.
And how I was probably almost arrested and the whole thing, and never been able to be put on some like no-fly list forever. So I'm waiting on tables, and I get this audition, and the audition is in Jacksonville, Florida. And so they put me, the production company for the Travel Channel, they're representing the Travel Channel. They put me on a flight departing LaGuardia, connecting through Washington, Dulles, and arriving at Jacksonville. Anyone who lives on the East Coast knows that no plane ever leaves on time from LaGuardia. And everyone who's ever been to Washington, Dulles knows it's probably the most ineffective airport there is. They have people movers. So when you land, you have to get from terminal to terminal, which I did. I needed to switch terminals. You go on this slow people mover. It's this big room on wheels that takes you from one, and it goes, just painfully slow. So we departed LaGuardia like 45 minutes late, and the first flight I totally missed. Didn't even, before I landed, the other plane took off. So the production company said, don't worry, we'll just tell Travel Channel, we'll give them your reel, just kind of picture and kind of what you've done in the commercials, and we'll go from there. And then Travel Channel came back and said, no, we have to see her audition specifically for this job as the host. And we're making it at the end of the week. And if she's not on a flight and we don't see her, she's not going to be, included in the...
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So they put me on the exact same flight. And the exact same thing happened. I left, 38 minutes late, and I'm already dying. Like, the plane hasn't even left yet from LaGuardia, and I'm already just aching my stomach. And so, but we land, and when we land, I have, 10 minutes to make the flight. But and so I'm running, and I get to that people mover, and it just goes like this. And so as soon as it reaches the other terminal, I just I've never run so fast. I was running so fast that I thought I was going to throw up. Because I just feel like, oh, and I get to the gate, and there's no one at the gate, and there's just one woman, and I'm like, is that the flight to Jacksonville? And she said, yeah, but I called final boarding a long time ago. But she said, but go down, maybe they'll take you. And so I go down, and it's one of those flights where you actually walk out onto the, the boarding, the tarmac area. Mm-hmm. You're not just going from a jetway onto a plane. You're actually walking down. And so I see this plane, and I just think that's the flight. So I start running, and this man, clearly and expectedly almost tackles me. He's like, where do you think you're going? And I'm like, is that the flight to Jacksonville? And he said, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be on that flight. And he's like, no, you're not. And he shows me his clipboard. He said, I just called it. And after I call it, no one gets on the flight. And so I'm just standing there, and all of that pain and that anxiety just releases. And I just start crying. I was just like, you don't understand. I've been waiting on tables for 10 years, almost a decade. And I really think I can get that job, but I have to be on that flight. Man. And he's just like, he's like, the only other person who can override my decision is the pilot. Oof. I will ask the pilot. I said, but you stay here. He's like, don't move. And I was just like, uh-huh. And I'm like, wiping tears. Like, uh-huh. And so I see him, and it's another 100 feet to the plane, and I see him walk up the stairway, and then he gets into the cockpit, and I see him the cockpit because he understands something's going wrong. So the pilot kind of leans in, and just a voice inside my head. And it was literally a voice I've never heard. And I've never heard since, was just, get on the plane, Sam. And it was like, yeah, get on the plane. And I pick up my bags, and I just began to run. And I put myself underneath the nose of the plane. It's a 50-seat jet. It's not, I know. And I open up my arms, and I just went, please.
Oh, man.
And I'm just standing there, and I see the pilot look down, and he just gives me the thumbs up. And that's when I knew
chills.
I got the job. I was like, but literally, I'm the middle child. What are the rules? I'm following them. And that one time, I was just like, just go for it. And my gosh, today I could have been this was, pre 9/11. But right. I got it. But I literally sat on the plane. I was like, the job. And, I just went in with it. Yeah, I'm meant to be here. And so, and we tried to find that pilot. Travel Channel, we did a big 10-year anniversary, and we looked, and it was one of those strange, airlines that kind of disappeared since now. And we never have. But there's someone out there. He was young. He's still around. I know he is.
Yeah.
And he's literally, instrumental in me getting the best job in the world. So
this is amazing. I love this story. I'm so glad you told that, because there's so much to unpack just in that. Just to listen to what it was that you did and how you literally put yourself in front of the plane.
Yeah, under it. Yeah, under it. Yeah.
Willing to do whatever literally whatever it takes to get yourself on that plane. I feel like maybe this person was, I feel like sometimes I have people show up in my lives that I also, in my lives, my plural lives, in my life, that they're there for the second that I need them, and then they're gone again. Even minutes after, they're just they've just disappeared. And I feel like they're just kind of like guardian angels that are just helping me get to where I need to be, or protecting me or something. And they're nowhere to be found again. But there's just this magic. There's just this that is in the wake of that. That's wow, that what would I have done, without that person? I was wondering actually if you had tried to find him afterwards, but
we tried. And I've put that story out on Instagram too, looking,
And he's never shown up.
yeah, because I owe him dinner. Like,
Yeah.
like, my gosh.
At least, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really, like a guardian angel. And these are people, you're so right. They come into your lives. They never ask for a thank you. And they know what they're doing. They know, like, I'm helping this person.
Oh, yeah.
That's all they
all
want
it is.
is to know that they've helped you. And then you're right. They've left. Yeah. Do you ever try to be that for other people?
I think that we are. But you know what? Just like that pilot, like maybe we don't even realize the repercussions. We don't realize like what a big moment that could be in someone else's world. But I also totally believe that when we're doing something out of, a passion, that something we believe in, like that's all we need to do. Yeah. Whether we know about something later or not,
Just do good in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, it's neat to have this conversation with you because I mean, right now we're on a platform. People are hearing us. You have a platform. People hear you, and to be able to have a message that you believe in that you can share. One of the things that I've learned over this 20 years plus of traveling is that we never know who's paying attention. We never know what kind of effect or influence we are having on someone. And I don't think that it doesn't matter if we know it in the end. It's not about that.
I remember a general manager at a hotel told me once, he said, the true meaning, and this has stayed with me for a long time, the true meaning of authentic is what you do and how you act when no one else is watching. And it's so true. Like, I have cameras on me. So I'm going to be a pretty nice person, certainly on camera. But who I am, when the cameras aren't rolling, is who you are and who I am. And you just hope that both are the same, right?
Yeah, right.
But it's such a great, because you don't know and you don't expect, and you just are. You're kind, and you make sure that it's always about kind of contributing to the whole, understanding you're not the star, right? It's an ensemble, this life thing that we're on.
Yeah, and it's almost like a gift to be put in a position where you do have a responsibility to show up, and something can be facilitated through you, and you're kind of just in that place as that facilitator of the magic. And as long as you keep showing up for what you believe you're there for, I think that's it. Therein kind of lies all of the magic. I asked you this in Vegas, but I want to ask you again, because I might change it a little bit, but because you have this position, I mean, this is just segueing perfectly into this conversation is, what is it? You just said, like, the person behind the camera and the person on the camera, you're hoping that they align, right? I guess, who are you? But like, in a way, what is it that you feel like you're here for? What is it that you want to be on camera for? Like, what is it that you want to share? What is that message?
Yeah, I definitely want to share other people's effort. I never felt comfortable being like me, the traveler. This is what I do. This is how I feel. This is how I'm doing this. Me. It's always about they. And that really ties into my acting background. Acting is all about the other person. What I have so much passion for is finding out how, a place that we're going to, what is the effort behind that place? Who are the souls that make, that kind of create the, this energy that you feel in a city, a town, a village, and how can we support them? So, it's always something like in Houston, Texas. We didn't find, but we made it a part of the show. There is the only nonprofit fashion house in the United States is in Houston, Texas. And all of their, they have designers there, and all of the designers work with only reclaimed materials. So they're taking things out of the landfills. But they pay all of their designers and people who work for them, sewers, above the living wage. And I love that. It's not just like we pay above. And then they have a whole paid apprentice program where they take women from nearby shelters, and teach them how to sew. So now they have a skill. And I just and you can walk into this, it's a store, and you would never know all this stuff that's going on, because you walk in and you just see great clothes and you see great jewelry, but everything there has a purpose. And I love that. I just wow, that is amazing. Why wouldn't you spend your money there? Why wouldn't you buy a top? Why wouldn't you do something to promote this whole idea? So that's where all of my passion lies, is that if we just direct, I mean, travelers have such a phenomenal power in their consumption. And if we support the right, businesses and the communities and the businesses of these communities, you've just made the world a better place right there. And you haven't done anything differently other than, hey, I needed a pair of pants, right? But, where you buy those pants.
Yeah.
So that's what I love. I love shining the light on the effort of people and how they create these things that we as travelers just get to show up in. But all the things they create really go into the greater good of their community and then, of course, the world as a whole.
I think celebrating people is an absolutely fabulous way to talk about travel, because when you go on a trip, I mean, you obviously just went to Houston. Well, not obviously, perhaps, but I know that you did just do this thing in Houston and presented some things about it. And yet the thing that you just brought up was this story about a person, right? It's not about whatever the iconic thing to see in Houston is. And that's never what it is. It's always, I mean, the stories that we bring home, the memories, like the real souvenirs of life and the things that we hold with us are the lessons, the people that we meet along the way. I mean, if you take, I guess, any of the trips that you've done with the Travel Channel, when I think about the trips that I've done with the groups that I lead, it's not, I mean, I can talk about Jordan. What do you know about Jordan, right? Petra, the treasury. This is the one thing people think of. But what sticks with me are the Bedouins that we walked alongside when we spent 5 days hiking to Petra, and we slept under the stars in camps with them and their families and shared a meal around a campfire. And these people are inviting travelers into their world to share their culture. And that it's so powerful that, like, oh yeah, we did see the treasury. We did. Yeah. But if you ask me to tell you a story about Jordan, I'm not going to tell you a story about seeing carved rock. Like, yes, that's really neat. And if you watched Indiana Jones, it's pretty fun. But like the people are where the magic is. And that's one of the beauties that I really believe in as travelers, that we have an opportunity to, I guess it's like almost like make the world a smaller place, because you just connect with the people around you and elevate their stories and share, empowering each other and coming away from the backcountry, knowing someone in that place rather than just, having seen a site. So I love that you shared that, because it is the people. Yeah. It's the people that keep us going, right?
Yeah. And I think that, that the tourism industry as a whole, certainly outside of the United States, I would say within the United States, it's easier to find these people, because the tourism industry outside of the United States, they're very protective. They have their top 5 lists, and it's hard to break through, even if when we've hired, say, fixers in that, city, that country, hey, can you find these? Because we're just working off the internet, and we understand it's not probably the most. But like one example that I give, just to show you how hard it is sometimes for people to understand what you want because our show actively, my show Places to Love, actually is looking for those people's stories. Yeah. Is we were in Strasbourg, France. So everyone knows it for its cathedral, and everyone loves the cathedral. And I kept reading, article after article that it was, the soul of the place. People beloved, they love their cathedral. I'm like, okay, well then how do we show them? And so when we reached out to the tourism, because you kind of go along that line, that's the trajectory, or we reached out to the cathedral, we didn't get anything back. So then we reached through tourism, said, hey, can you make this connection for us? They're not getting back to us. And they said, oh, you know what? We have a great architecture tour of the cathedral. I'm like, I'm not looking for an architecture tour. Oh, we have a great person who does a history tour of, they're perfect. Everyone, I'm like, I'm not even looking for the history. I got it. 800 years. We all know cathedrals. We get it. And I'm like, what I'm looking for is like, who is someone there that plays the organ, and they've been playing the organ there, for 4 decades. And maybe now their daughter is taking over, but they know the sound of the cathedral when it's empty to when it's full. Do you have someone like that? Like, no. How about a custodian who takes care of the cathedral and knows where the worn spots are, where like the devout go who live there, and then the international people, and maybe they go to a different place. Do they, kind of like that? And they're like, you want to talk to the janitor? I'm like, yeah, I do. I do want to talk to the janitor. And so then we were told you don't have access at all. And it was a whole thing with like our cameras and stuff. It was July, it was busy. We get that. But then like a few weeks later, tourism came back because we're like, do you have any artisans there? Like, we love artisans. People work with their hands. And I'll never forget this because it was like, we do have the Cathedral Workshop. What's the Cathedral Workshop? Well, it was founded 1,300 years ago when the cathedral was first thought of. And it housed all of the artisans who then built the cathedral. And, all the stone cutters and stone carvers. And it has been in the same place for this amount of time. And today there are still stone carvers and cutters. And they're now about, the restoration of the cathedral. Would you like to talk to them?
Yeah.
I was like, yes, that's exactly you. And so, we got this amazing tour, and they gave tours. It wasn't wasn't VIP. This is what they do. And you meet the artists, and they themselves talk about how they grew up here and they loved the cathedral, and it's their job as artists to take care of the. I'm like, and I pulled the woman aside. I'm like, this is what people want. Like, people want to see this, like not the top 5s that you have on your list.
Right.
Not, and I'm like, and just like, you could charge a lot for this because this is an experience that like we want that connection, and we understand, like, when we're there, we're delaying them work. So we get it that you do have to pay for some of this access. They're not theme park employees. They're real people, but like, it's kind of like really a big deal that you have this. So some people are just, they don't get it. They still don't, they still think everyone wants the selfie, buy the thing, buy the hello. And I think, travelers today are getting further and further away from that sort of, superficial way of experiencing a place. So sorry, that was a long story. I know it was a tangent, but it was just kind of this, story. It can be right in front of their faces. People don't even see their own jewels.
Right. Totally. And you know what, though? This is what shows like yours do such a good job of, and we actually need that because without having somebody else doing that work for us, like what is it that we see? What is it that the media gives us? They give us the top 5 lists. They give us the big iconic things, and they give us the history, and that's all we know. And so it takes the storytellers and the explorers, I think you can do this either in person by actually putting feet to the ground and going and just exploring yourself, and letting your path take you where you will. I always love saying, when I'm on the road and I discover something cool and somebody says, oh, where are you? And it's like, well, I'm where my path took me. And it's like such a random, path to get here. It's like, I don't know if you're going to end up in the same place as me, but like, go be curious for yourself and see what happens when you go out and take, step after step and put one foot in front of the other. But I love that you have actually you have another show. Let's talk about this because people know you from the Travel Channel. But it's been a long time since you've been with the Travel Channel, and you have your own empire. Can we call it that now? And so, and this is what you do. You seek out, you're the explorer with the feet on the ground, making sure that stories like the workshop in Strasbourg come to life. So tell us a little bit about this show and like why you started it and how you kind of transitioned from what you did with the Travel Channel, which was very different. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
With the Travel Channel was very mainstream, I would say. And it was very much the point of view of me and all of my feelings, how I felt being in a place and sort of my overview of things. And it was, which was fine, but places. So the show that I do now is called Samantha Brown's Places to Love, and it airs on your local PBS station, over 320 stations. And it's a show that I own. So 10 years ago, I think, Travel Channel just let me go. They were like, no, we're done. And I was like, okay. So, but I still loved what I did, but I knew I wanted to do something differently than I had been doing with them for so long. And I honestly, I didn't know what that was for a little while, but I met this woman named named Kara Wilson in Oregon, and she is in a wheelchair, but she owns this massive ranch in Oregon. And I met her at a state tourism event, and I was like, so what are you doing here if you own a cattle ranch? What are you doing at a tourism event? She's like, well, you could stay in my house. And my former house, which was a Sears and Roebuck catalog house, her history goes back. But I loved her. I loved her grit, and I just couldn't believe. And then you could spend the day and doing a city slicker kind of thing with her, or overnight. And I just thought, boy, I want to do a show where people like me know that people like you exist. And that's just basically the whole concept of the show is, uncovering. And it's not necessarily off the beaten path places. It's just you didn't know to look there, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really finding the people, but I can't call it People to Love because you would think that was a travel show. So it's called Places to Love.
Isn't that interesting?
But the reason why you love it are the people. Mm-hmm. But again, it was just in sort of an antithesis of Travel Channel work, because now the show, even though it has my name on it, it's not about me. It's really about uncovering the place through its people. All of the things that I do are things that everyone has access to. I don't get VIP, access. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things are free, actually, just like public parks and public spaces that we all have access to. But it's really about, really understanding the people. And they do something that is accessible to everyone. So we don't do things that no one's ever going to be able to do, or we meet the people who create businesses and organizations that make places better. And so it's a little more, and then we find out about the place through them. It's not me kind of giving you my sort of overview. Well, Houston is like this and this. It's like I let the people tell you who they are. And so, but yeah, I've been doing that for close to 10 years now as well. So it's been great. And just the difference is I own the show, which I'm really proud of. And I think people don't understand that. Like, I raise all the money myself with my husband. We own a production company, and we hire a team of 7 other people, and we go to these places all around the world and then give it back to public television for free. But then I own everything. I own, what we do. I own the creative. I own the physical, show as well. And so there's a lot of benefit to being the owner of a travel program.
And I actually would love to ask you a little more about that, because you had such a contrast by showing up, and you were, probably scripted to an extent and expected to be XYZ. And it's Travel Channel. Like, we expect that, right? But having that switch, now being able to say, this is what I want to talk about. This is who I want to talk about. These are the places that I want to go. How do you feel as that massive transition? Because this is what you were known for before, and now being able to create your own thing and celebrate your own genius, really. What does it feel like to step into that role?
Feels great. It just feels more authentic, right? I have such enthusiasm for it that I think people, catch on to that. But also, I'm in a really great space with public television. The people who watch public television are curious about the world. And they want to know. They don't want to know the top 5s. They've already been to the top 5s.
Yeah, probably.
They're a well-traveled, very well-traveled group of people. And so they've already done that. And they've done that 20 years ago. And they want to know what to do now. And mostly how to connect with this world. So I know my audience well. And I know that they're really interested in ways that go far, far beyond the mainstream narrative of travel. And so it's a really great partnership with that. So yeah, it's wonderful. And with the Travel Channel, it was never scripted. I was always the person who, on camera, I was that person. And then there might be some VO scripted for me, but I had no editing rights. And that's where, that was the difference. I had no editing rights. And so if they wanted to portray me as one way, or if they wanted to edit out things that I felt like that's why we were there, it didn't matter. That wasn't the show. This is the show. And so being able to have the editing, the creative control over a show is everything. Yeah.
That is so interesting to hear you say. Just being on this side of this conversation and having heard you just talk about, wanting to be on stage, being an actor, that doesn't to me sound like you were interested in editing control. It's just,
True.
It sounds like you were interested in showing up for the part because that's what you were good at, and that's what was fun. And so I can see just an observation from the outside that has become a passion for you because you've become a storyteller is what's happening. And you're becoming now the facilitator of other people's stories. You're facilitating this story to be told to the world, but it looks like it's so much more important to you now to be able to actually be the creator, not just the talking head, if you will, but actually have a purpose in the storytelling of it. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. And I think it comes with, with experience and age. In the beginning, sure. I loved it,
Absolutely.
Tell me where to show up. Everything was done for me. I was paid well. And then, and someone got me coffee. I always joke that now I get everybody coffee because I'm even the executive producer and the host. I'm the low man on the totem pole there. But yeah, so I think that just comes with, I think I can do this better. And if I'm going to be spending, and this is another thing, if I'm going to be spending this amount of time, it has to be worth it. It has to give you joy. And so that is because now I'm a mom. Whenever I travel, I just got back from being away for 14 days. That's a long time for me to be out of being like the mom and the friend, the sister. And it's got to be worth it. And so the only way it's worth it is if you control it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that for you. I mean, I think that's, and it makes sense because we do evolve. I mean, I'm not the same as when I started. I mean, there are things in my heart that are forever the same, but as life change and as we grow and we change too. And so I mean, I'm also a person who has changed my business with me as I've decided, to evolve, and it feels good to be able to have that kind of control and creative outlet, really, because we are creative people. And I asked you this I did ask you this on stage in Vegas, because I know you just mentioned family.
Jackie, that just sounded so cool. I mentioned to you this in Vegas. Like, we seem so cool now. Like, in Vegas.
When we were chatting in Vegas. But I asked you, how is it that you don't burn out? You're so prolific. You have so many. We haven't even talked about the fact that you also have a travel line, a luggage line. And I mean, we now learned that you're running this show. You're doing every aspect of it, and guess what? You have a family,
Yeah.
So not only somehow you balance all of this, which I mean, maybe balance is like that forbidden like magic word. But the question was, how do you not burn out? Because, and like you said, you've got to make it worth it. So what is it? What is the magic there?
I definitely burn out. Even on the road, I burn out. And so, for instance, just recently we've been doing the Route 66 road trip, and it's really arduous because you're just checking in and out of hotels every day. You're waking up, leaving by 7 a.m., and then you're in a new hotel trying to set up some sort of semblance of just a schedule just to keep you who you are. And a lot of times, so a part of me, I never go out at night. Like if my crew goes out, I just go back. And I go to a supermarket and I get like yogurt and I eat in my room because I just need to just kind of decompress so I can be myself the next day. So there's a lot of that I put, there's so much output that when I come home, it's just like, you would think I was an introvert. And I have so many great people. I'm not truly alone. I have such an awesome crew that I've worked with that some of them, like my director, Sylvia Kaminer, I've worked with for 20 years. Like you work with the people you trust, you meet them along the way and you never let them go. And even if you have to go your separate ways, you're like, I'm coming back. And when we can work together, we're going to work together. And so you slowly create your crew. And on the mom front, I had an amazing nanny for 8 years and she still comes back and helps us out so I've always had help. I've been able to afford help, which is huge, right? We know that just being able to afford children and then childcare and then extra childcare, I've had help. I don't do it all alone. And I have an amazing partner. My husband Like he truly, I go away and then he takes care of the shop while I'm gone. And so it's just having these people, and you choose your team wisely. You really do, because they are your team, and they make sure that in the end you're okay. So yeah, it's never alone, and I totally burn out. But I have my ways that I come back. I definitely come back. I need sleep. I've always needed like 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and so I protect that. I protect that with my life. Yeah, because because you're a different person. Like if you don't have sleep, oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Preaching to the choir.
I feel like a toddler. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so cranky right now, and I can't rise above this. I should, but no, I've never.
You just need to go to bed. Yep,
I need to go to bed.
I hear that big time, and that's really hard when you're traveling and constantly in different places. And oh man, I also struggle with that. But getting the right help.
Yeah.
To avoid the burnout. And then I think to just remembering going back to your why, which is the purpose of the whole thing is connecting the people. Like you said, connecting people, being the facilitator of that, having a responsibility to kind of show up. And also remembering that I love this too about travel. I love this so much. It's actually true about life, but you never know who you're going to meet around the next corner. That's what I always say is just, you never know who's going to be there.
Yeah.
And isn't that exciting? Doesn't that make you want to keep going?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I did mention briefly that you also have your luggage line, which is pretty cool. I know you have a lot of things going, but out of all of the things that you have going, what is it that you love the most about the work that you've created for yourself? What's your favorite thing to show up for?
Oh boy. Oh, and my show, Places to Love. Okay. Absolutely. I mean, that's where it's like, it's me, and it's kind of my approach to travel. And it just kind of reinforces the idea that travel doesn't have to be 10,000 miles to be meaningful and change your life. It could be, the state next to yours, or even a day trip, and really just hitting that home, because I grew up thinking that travel was definitely for other people, that travel is for the privileged and people privileged with time, money, and confidence. And so I think a lot of what we do is, those are strong. You do, like, Jackie, you need to have confidence to do what you do. But you can be the connector. Like you said, you can be the facilitator that holds the hands of other people who think, always wanted to do. And you can be like, then come with me because I've done it. And that helps people too. So that people are looking to you to see, well, I can do that. I just had like one of the best moments of my career. I live here in Brooklyn, New York, and in New York City is LaGuardia High School. And LaGuardia High School is famous because it's Fame. I don't know if your listeners remember Fame, the musical, or there was a TV show, and it was about this high school where all these very famous, where you would go and learn, performing arts. Timothy Chalamet is from Fame, LaGuardia High School, so now it's kind of but so I grew up with this TV show and always wanted to be in Fame and sang all the songs through my, hairbrush. And they invited me to talk to their world languages class. And it was like 200 kids. And they just know me from my shows that the teachers are showing. They don't even know that I have a TV show. They see me in their classroom. And it was such a joy because they were talking about where they were from. And of course, it's New York City, so it's an incredibly diverse, student body. And it was just so meaningful because we talked about, they wanted to know my travel tips. And here were these 15-year-olds. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like to know that they're listening to me and they're looking up to me to show them, what travel is about. And it was great. I was like, with travel, like you don't have to, because they're like, well, I don't think I'll ever, get to Rome or, it doesn't have to be that big. Take it slow. You could get on a subway and go to another part of Manhattan that you've never been to. And it's Chinatown, or it's a different, neighborhood of a different group of people, and experience that. And you've been traveling, and that's how you start and open your eyes. And like you said, like you'd never have a plan. All of a sudden you were just here and now you're experiencing this. That's the ultimate travel experience. Like I didn't even plan to have this moment. I just went down this street and there was a band, and then it became this parade, and then I was asked to dance the samba, and I didn't realize I was in the Brazilian neighborhood of, whatever, and here I am. And that's it. And like, boom, and you've had a travel moment. And that's what you're going for. That's what you're practicing doing, that it's not just these like, top 5 must-sees that you have to get to. It's really about experiencing a place.
Yeah. It's about putting one foot in front of the other and just following your curiosity and trusting yourself that's enough. That's okay. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to do what Samantha Brown is doing. You don't. It's just, but at the same time, here we are saying, we are recognizing that we don't know who's watching, and this is what it looks like. If you need the example, like this is what it looks like to go and discover your own story. And therein lies the magic of travel. Yeah. Exactly. I love this. Okay. So where and what do you have on the horizon? What are you excited about? What's next for you?
So we just started shooting season 9 of Places to Love. And
amazing.
And I just finished, like literally just came back on Sunday shooting our last leg of Route 66. So we've been breaking it up in chunks over 3 years. And this is the final chunk. We began in New Mexico and made our way to Santa Monica. And it was phenomenal. And just the history that I was able to see and hear, and stuff that's just never taught in your grade school, and I just loved it. So pretty soon I'll have the whole. Well, personally, I've done the whole Route 66, and now we're editing the last chunk. But then going to Williamsburg, Virginia, in May, and hopefully seeing a naturalization ceremony, which I know I'm going to cry. Yeah.
Wow.
So and just kind of talking about our country and who makes it great and who gets to be we the people, and especially when you're seeing the newest people, right? And why we should be really, really proud of that. And then after that, it's Europe. And we've got a lot going on. I'll be doing a lot of Eastern Europe, Romania, and leave Serbia. And so, so that's what I'm excited about. Just going to places that I haven't been and doing my thing. And it's getting to do it. Like, for me, it's like, people are like, what's next? What's new? I'm like, I'm just so happy that I still get to do what I love to do. So it's always new.
And you're keeping it exciting because you get to determine what happens next. And that's also the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't already know how to tune in to everything you have going on, where can they find you?
I'm definitely on social media. If you're Instagram, it's Samantha Brown Travels. It's also that on Facebook and TikTok. But I have a great website, samantha-brown.com. And from there, you can also stream all of my Places to Love episodes for free, no paywall. So you can catch it on PBS if you happen to do that, or you can just go online and stream it for free. But I have about 84 episodes there all ready to go. So really, really proud.
Congratulations. How exciting.
Yeah.
What a career you've built, and how much influence you've had on those people that watching, including myself. I mean, I used to watch you on TV, so it's actually really cool it's like a weird moment almost for me to just be like, hey, Sam, what's going on? How have you been since we last saw each other?
In like,
What?
Vegas.
I know. I know. It's just wild. It's wild, this life, and the things that we can do with it when we apply ourselves, and I love that. So
keep going. Anyone listening, keep going. Just keep doing it, and you'll get there. You really will. You really will.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for just being here and sharing with us and being yourself, your authentic self, and sharing your message. Really appreciate it, and wish you all the best of everything with your show and travels going forward.
Jackie, it's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we connected in Vegas, and I know we have a friendship for the rest of our times going forward.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. Thank you so much.